All right, welcome back to another Matt and Maddie breakdown some Chiefs football here, and we got some fun stuff going on at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around. We're gonna try a little something new today, but right now I'm joined by Matt Cassel, and first we're gonna take a look back at some of the more exciting plays against the Denver Broncos from the Kansas City Chiefs. So we got this first play here, and this is just a mesh concept to me anyway, where we're getting the running back out, getting him run through some traffic, and trying to get him open in the flat here.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's a bunch formation. What does a bunch do? It stresses the defense because when you look at this play and they start rolling it, right, you've got the short motion, there's communication taking place. That receiver is going to go back. And then once he goes back, right, you can see the point guy is going to vertically release. You're going to get a crossing route, and then you're going to get the drive route as well. So that is really important on this play because what they're really trying to do is get Darrell Williams to sneak out the front side of this, and it puts the emphasis on that Will Backler to fight through so much traffic. And all they're trying to do is disrupt his path, right? Make him run over, make him run under. But as soon as they're able to run that play and just disrupt him ever so slightly, then Darrell Williams is able to bust out that front side. He's wide open and can be a really big play. And it's built for man coverage. In this particular case, they got the best of both worlds because it's a too high man coverage, right? We call it 22 man. And in that circumstance, even a safety can't get involved down low and make a play. So you're really working with those guys and just trying to pick that one individual player, that will linebacker.
Early in the game, the Chiefs found some success running some mesh concepts, getting the ball to Tyreek Hill or Byron Pringle on some of these crossing routes. What's kind of the big benefit to incorporating the running back into this and not just running it with your receivers and tight ends?
Right. That's a great question. You know, a lot of times when you can incorporate the running back with these meshes, these rubs and everything like that, he's going up against a stiffer, bigger linebacker, whereas those DBs are more versatile, right? They can get over the top. They can close quicker. They can close the distance, make a play on the ball, where if you can get a good running back that has ball skills in space on a stiffer linebacker, then you have more of ability for a catch and run after the play, if that makes sense.
Nope, that makes a ton of sense. And one last thing here, is this kind of a one-read play? Like, where's Patrick Mahomes looking if this linebacker is able to get through here and stays on top of our running back? Where's the next progression for Patrick Mahomes?
You know, it's interesting because a lot of times what you do with this particular play is it'll be a check with me play, right? The motion will kind of set it up, and at the same time, you're evaluating on third and short distance, you're anticipating some form of man coverage. If it's man coverage, you're running the play. But if it's not man coverage, a lot of times it's a check with me. You'll check out of that play to more of a zone beater, right? Because if it's not, it's feast or famine in this case. It's all or nothing. If you don't get man coverage in this play, it's not a great play conceptually because those guys are really running their routes for one guy, which is the halfback, to get open on that run. So you better be prepared to run if you're the quarterback and you've called this play versus zone.
No, perfect. So this week, we're going to call this the running back week because I think every play we're looking at is a pass to the running back. So this first one is Darrell Williams coming through on the mesh. Next, as we get to this next play, we're getting one to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We actually have Clyde Edwards-Helaire starts out split out wide, and then they start to motion him back into the backfield, and then the ball snapped, and we get what looks kind of like a smash concept here at the bottom of the screen. And you can kind of walk me through this one because I can't say I've seen this play in recent years from the Chiefs under Andy Reid.
Yeah, I love this formation, right? You got Kelsey down here in the slot at the bottom of the page. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire motioning in. You got Tyreek Hill up at the number 3 position in a 3-by-1 set, which is great because that puts speed on inside, and that's immediately going to threaten the defense. Now, in this particular case, you know it's some form of zone, or Patrick knows it's some form of zone because the corner stays outside with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, starts to adjust as he comes back in. Now, you can see the defensive ends too on this play. It's interesting. They're standing up. Well, usually what they do is they're standing up to disrupt Kelsey, to disrupt Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill gets disrupted, but the guy on the underneath the defensive end doesn't disrupt Kelsey whatsoever. He drops into cover, which is interesting. I would think that he would rush. But at the same time, the other part of this is that the linebacker who's adjusting back inside, I think he's anticipating Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming into the backfield. And at that point, you can see him at the end of the play. He's still kind of looking like he's going to go back into the box. And then Patrick does a great job with his snap on the motion. And what it does is in this particular coverage against a too high zone coverage, you've got a high-low on that corner on the backside. Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes out, wins on the will linebacker, and also the threat of Kelsey going up over the top. What happens is that cloud corner down low, number 21, it makes him sink because he's trying to hold off the big hitter, but he gives up the option route underneath in the meantime. So it was just a great read, clean read. He went 1-2 and found his guy wide open.
Yeah, that stand-up edge almost gets in the way of the linebacker as he just drifts back there. So a little bit of a
Right.
miscommunication bust. But even without it, like I liked how you talked about the high-low there because we have Travis Kelce kind of coming on this bench route or corner route behind it. So this corner, if it's going
Right.
to be some kind of trap coverage where he's driving on the flat, you're going to get Kelce over the top. So this is a good way to stress him from here. And I think you had said when we were talking about this play earlier, at the top of the screen, there's also an open route up there if the Chiefs wanted to read the trip side, correct?
Right, you've got options all over this play, right? And if he loves the look to Tyreek Hill on the stick route up top, and he loves that matchup, that's why you put him inside because he's going to be matched up usually on a linebacker. In this case, he is, and so you can throw that stick route. But maybe throughout the course of the game, he's watched him get disrupted, and maybe he didn't feel confident about it. He liked his high-low, which that's his prerogative is to go either side in this case. And then also you had options versus man because you got the inside fade there, but they're not playing man, and you've got also the hitch up top versus some kind of soft zone. So it was a play that was all encompassing. You have answers for zone, you have answers for man, in particular, you have answers for two high zone, in which this is what exactly what happened.
Perfect. And then we're going to roll through this and get to our next play here. On our next one, we're going to watch this one more time as we get this nice little smash concept over here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is wide open. We get the ball out to him. All right, so the next we're going to come up here. We're going to get one more view. So as Matt Cassel said here, watch our weak side linebacker. He's still working to the inside when this ball gets snapped. That's where you get that easy out leverage. So we're going to watch one more time coming in from the left side of your screen. He's not ready for the snap. He's easily out leveraged on this little out route, pitch and catch there. And then here's our final play. This is our big play to Darrell Williams, and it actually ends up coming off of a little bit of a broken play because not only do the Broncos blow the coverage, but Williams adjusts his route as Patrick Mahomes starts to roll, and you kind of get that free play down the field.
That's exactly what happens. It's what they refer to as quarter half. So they're playing cover 4 up top, right? With the motion, you can see that there's some kind of miscommunication in there between those two backers. The Sam backer over Kelce is what I'm going to refer to him as, and the middle linebacker over the halfback. In this particular case, this is a great concept for a cover 4 beater. You got the post over the top. You got Kelce trying to hold down that safety. Now that safety kind of middles it, so I can understand why Patrick isn't very confident about throwing the post over top. If that safety's aggressive and jumps Kelce right now, he's got the post over the top. And then really you've got the back going to the flat right now as an option that you can take, but really you're working top down on this particular read. But when Mahomes gets pressure here and he gets flushed out to the right, is that Darrell Williams there? Yeah, Darrell Williams does a tremendous job of recognizing that, hey, look, the flat route right here, I'm going to turn it up. It's a broken play. He turns it up. Patrick recognizes it, throws a great ball, and it's a really big play for them.
It was a great play. And I know there's some people that are going to see this and wonder how come this ball wasn't thrown kind of to this go route on the bottom of the screen here, because it looks like the wide receiver gets a little bit of separation kind of later in the play. But tell us why, this wide receiver, I don't know who it is down here on the bottom of the screen, does not end up getting open on this play until after Mahomes' eyes have removed from him and he's kind of started to leave the pocket.
Right. It's a good question. I mean, you've got an option route on the inside. You've got a go route on the outside. Really, it's not great versus cloud coverage. Why? Because you've got safety help over the top. If Patrick drops back and starts staring over there, that safety should run over the top. And then as you can see, that corner's not threatened by anything coming inside out to him right now. So he gives depth. So it's a really hard throw. And it would be one thing if you had a 2-on-1 in that circumstance. You got two verticals. Well, now you've got 2-on-1. When I say that, you put the emphasis on the safety making the right decision. You can pump inside, go outside. If he overplays the outside go, now you can go inside. But that's not the circumstance here. The focal point here in the versus quarters coverage is that post and where Kelce's going to go up and sit down and kind of try to give him that bait and then work that 3 receiver side up top. So he makes the exact right decision here and then makes a play outside the pocket.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Matt. And so now we're done looking at this Denver game, but we are going to take a little peek forward to see what the Chiefs might do against the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, guys, I teased it a little bit. We're going to try something different. So we're going to talk about coverage that gave the Chiefs a little bit of issue against Denver Broncos, and it's essentially going to be this too high look, but what we're going to get is our strong safety here is going to end up coming down after the snap, and he's going to be robbing kind of the middle of the field here from the strong side, and they're also going to play cover 1 behind it. So you're going to have one robber, so we kind of got man coverage across the board, generally speaking, for everybody else. You got the deep zone coverage over the middle. We got the strong safety rolling down to rob the middle. And I just kind of want to let Matt Cassel here talk about one of his favorite ways the Chiefs could go about attacking this if the Raiders decide to do the same coverage.
Okay, here we go. So this is going to be a 5-man protection concept, right? You got 5 for 5 there, and you're going to try to take care of the weak side nickel linebacker. So you're going to slide out there. You're going to be hot front side. And what I like to do here is then you're going to short motion that Z in, okay? So we're going to short motion back off that corner ever so slightly. Now, at the snap of the ball, right, the Z is going to vertically stem, and his spot that he wants to get to is right over – go inside with that, Maddie. Go inside a little bit more. Yeah, there you go. And he's going to get right over the ball, right over the center almost. Yeah, and he's going to be about 10 yards, right? And so what that does, okay, one, it's going to create I'll explain what it's going to do here in a second. The Y is going to vertically stem, okay, and then go on the shallow crossing route the opposite direction. Yep, you're going to go. Now, here, this F has to have a good release. The F is the weak side slot player. He's going to do whatever he can. And what is happening is in this mesh concept is he's going to come underneath the Y. That's going to create, yes, he's going to go underneath the Y. And you're putting the emphasis now on that nickel back. When you create the mesh, once again, you're telling that nickel back, he's got to make a decision. Does he try to run underneath, which is hard to do in that circumstance, or run over the top? And if the Y can pick him correctly, he can't make contact with him, but if he can get him to run over the top, he's going to bust that F wide open. Now, here's the kicker on the backside. Look, you can run any type of concept you want. You could run a stop route, which is 8 yards and up. You can run a bench route. You can run an in cut, okay? So it's anything you want to do there, but in this particular case, we put them on an in cut. Now, the really primary part of this read is the H back, right? Because who's got to cover that H back? It's the Mike linebacker right there in the middle, right? And he'll probably cheat over a little bit, but what does he have to run through? He not only has to run through that Y vertically stemming, right? And he's going to run a bullet route is what we call it. So he's going to come right off the wake of that mesh, and the wider he can get, the more width, the better. And so he's number one in the progression because who's responsible for him in this particular coverage? It's the Mike linebacker. So he's got to run through the Y, the Z is going to give presence over there. There's a lot of bodies, a lot of cluster in there that he's got to run through. And if you can, you're trying to pop that H open right now and going out in the bullet, right? And so you got to put that ball on him before the Mike linebacker can respond. But it's such an easy play from a conceptual standpoint. It's literally what we say right to left. You've got the H as your number one read, right? If he pops right now and those guys are able to bust him open, he's number one. Now you've got the F coming right into your window, right? Again, versus man, this is a great concept because you're creating the mesh. He's going to run underneath the Y. Then you go to the Z over the ball as your number 3. And then if for some reason none of those guys have popped, a lot of times the Y will pop out the backside for you. And if for some reason you've got the greatest protection in the world and you have to get back to it, the X is there on the end cut as another option. So really it's a pure right to left read. You've got H as number 1. You got the F coming underneath the mesh as number 2. The Z is over the ball. And sometimes that Z just pops, right? The corner's got to adjust, run up over the top. He thinks you're running. And sometimes he'll just sit down right there over the ball. And it's like the parting of the Red Sea. He's wide open. You put it on him as you get through your progression here and then back to number 4 and 5.
And so this looks relatively similar to that first play we looked at versus Denver, where they actually ended up hitting Darrell Williams kind of on a little bit more of a flat route instead of the bullet route getting vertical.
Right.
But it seems like a similar concept to me. And now I did want to ask, how come this works so well versus kind of like a one robber kind of coverage versus whether, let's say it was 2-man, is it better versus one robber or 2-man, or is it going to be about the same coming out of it? It's just any man coverage it's going to work well against.
Any man coverage is really going to be great against because there's so much going on in the interior part of this route concept and so many people that have to run through and make adjustments. And again, well, you can actually put that Z in a cut split is what I like to say. So you don't have to motion him, but a lot of times what you like to do in this particular play is we call it hop the H over from the weak side of the formation to the right side. So the weak side to the strong side. So where he's at right now, but he starts weak and then hops over late. And then there's a communication, once again, that has to take place between the backers. And a lot of times they'll mess that communication up. So there's a lot that goes on with how you can manipulate the coverage and also manipulate the formation in terms of cut split versus who you're motioning and stuff like that. But in terms of man coverage, there's just so much going on, so much communication. And it's just a great play because, again, you're setting picks. people got to run through, they got to communicate, and the strong safety really can't get involved as much in that H because he's dropping down to give presence in the middle of the field. And when that Z is running vertically, he doesn't know if he's running across or what he's exactly doing at this point. And so he's got to give presence there because that's his job, right? He's eyes on the quarterback, trying to rob anything that's going on in the middle of the field.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you. Much appreciated. We like this because the Vegas Raiders, they like to run a lot of single high stuff. They'll play a lot of man and zone. So you might see a lot of one robber stuff like this. And if it's anything like last time they learned their lesson, they will rotate the safety down late rather than start him there. So it's just something to look forward to this upcoming game as the Chiefs try to go 2-0 versus the Raiders this year.
Absolutely. Can't wait to watch that game.